Well, it's great being here today, and I am director of Wested's Health and Human Development Program, and I've been in this field since the mid-'70s, and Bill's introduction this morning was like reviewing my entire career. I started out with NIDA on substance use and then school violence, and as I worked in this area around safe and drug-free schools with the regional TA centers, I became more and more convinced that we really needed to focus in on school climate. And it seems like it's a theme today and a consensus that's emerged as its importance. And so really what I'm going to be talking about more is that Tier 1, the universal supports around school climate. And echoing what Dan pointed out, it's really what we're doing to create environments with schools that keep kids in school, provide them the supports they need, and address their needs rather than pushing them out. So particularly in terms, I'm going to talk about why a positive developmentally supportive school climate is an essential component of a comprehensive approach to reducing violence and victimization, but also, as Dan has pointed out, improving academic performance and health and well-being. And we really need to think of this in a very comprehensive approach to both issues. And I'm going to provide some evidence from California related from our Safe and Supportive Schools project. So what do I mean by a comprehensive approach to safety? Well, three factors need to be taken into consideration. First, we need to address the social and emotional as well as the physical aspects of safety, because as Dan mentioned, disengagement is really an important risk factor for misbehavior. We need to recognize that safety and achievement are intertwined, that they share many of the common risk and protective factors, and reframe prevention within the broader context of school climate, which is a malleable environment that can either enhance or reduce a sense of safety and the likelihood of learning engagement. So these are some of the characteristics that research has identified for creating a climate for safety. And begin with addressing those underlying risk and protective factors, providing a high level of student support, both developmental, social, emotional, and behavioral, as well as academic, fostering a sense of community and connectedness, and engendering self-discipline, pro-social behavior, and learning engagement within students. So how do we go about doing it? And this slide says characteristics. These are really strategies. And first and foremost, we have to create a belief system within the school that focuses on developmental supports and needs. And what research, particularly youth development and resilience research, has pointed out is that for kids to succeed, and we need to first address the basic developmental needs of the youth that motivate all positive human behavior. And obviously, safety is one of them. But there's also three key psychological needs, and that's for autonomy and power, sense of being your own active agent and self-regulation, of belonging, love, and respect, that issue of community and connectedness we've been talking about, and sense of competence and mastery. And when those are met, you also have meaning and purpose in life. So how do we go about doing that? And again, from both violence prevention and safety and resilience research, three supports have been identified over and over again as being fundamental. First, positive relationships among and between students and staff, creating a sense of caring, trust, and respect within the whole school environment. Having shared norms and high expectations around achievement and positive nonviolent behavior that's clearly communicated and fairly applied. And third, opportunities for meaningful participation in decision-making and a sense of responsibility and contribution. Now, all these things are interrelated and reinforce those three psychological needs. But each one you can see is sort of related specifically. You know, positive relations are essential for belonging, high expectations for competence, and participation in decision-making for autonomy. And as Catherine mentioned, a third broad area strategies is fostering social emotional competencies that have been linked to pro-social behavior, self-discipline, resilience, and a wide range of other positive outcomes. And that's including how to understand and regulate emotions, to set positive goals, to feel and show empathy toward others, to establish positive relationships, and to make responsible decisions. And teaching these things are essential for creating a positive climate, but also a positive climate is essential for kids to be able to learn this. So you need to infuse the whole culture of the school with the sense of these social emotional competencies and allow opportunities for students to see these modeled, to demonstrate these competencies within the environment and to be acknowledged for them. So this is an illustration of the model that we have developed and used over the years. So it shows how meeting those developmental supports fosters meeting the needs, the basic needs of kids, which in turn leads to lowering violence and bullying and risk factors. And what this really is, these are protective factors that have been shown to reduce the likelihood of involvement even in high-risk environments. But they're also promotive, so they foster that school connectedness that we've been talking about in those personal strengths and social emotional competencies. And this all leads to a positive student outcomes in a wide range of areas, plus safer schools. I didn't know this was going to do this. Okay, so as been several have mentioned, the most important thing is to begin with data. First, we have to assess our climate. And that's an important concept, that these are measurable entities. And this is what we have done with the California Healthy Kids School Climate in order to do that. We developed this first with the Safe and Supportive Schools projects. So we have developed, these are all scales, 8 domains of scales. One is sports and engagement, so all those developmental supports plus school safety and school connectedness. And then we assess violence, perpetration, victimization, harassment, and bullying in substance use at schools. So the schools that administer the survey, they get their scores for each of these 8 subdomains, and then they get an overall school climate index score. So within the Safe and Supportive Schools project in California, we worked with 58 high schools, and the main focus of it was first assessing the needs using the survey, and then using the data to guide decision-making and action planning and implementing this developmental school model and a multi-tiered system of comprehensive supports. So here's some of the results from the statewide data, all these 58 schools between 2011 and 13. So the first set of bars is the actual school climate index. You can see every year of the project that the school climate's got more positive. And then if you look at the second from the top, that's the overall violence, victimization, and substance use. And you can really see that that's what changed most radically and had the greatest influence on the school climate score. And this occurred in all 4 areas of that domain. So the perpetration, the victimization, the bullying, and the violence perpetration. So these are actually low levels of all of these, and you see them increasing. And this compares the school climate index and the violence data between grantees and all other schools within California that administered the survey. And you see all schools improved. And we like to think it's because we have been promulgating this approach to school climate for many years within California. But the grantees significantly improved better over this 3-year period. And getting back to the theme of academic, how this also influenced academic achievement, we looked at how schools, how school climate varied between schools, looking at academic success, comparing them to all other schools that were demographically similar. And what we found is a huge difference in school climate between schools that chronically underperformed and schools that beat the odds and did better than their demographically similar schools. There was a 76% spread in the difference between the chronically underperforming and the beating the odds schools. And this just visually illustrates that the likelihood of school climate, academic achievement and beating the odds increasing as the school climate index score goes up is really profound. So just summarizing, school climate is an overarching framework, a belief system that integrates school policies and practices for learning, safety, prevention, and health, and fosters positive outcomes in all 4 areas. It both deters violence and fosters learning engagement. And failure to foster these conditions is going to undermine the effectiveness of safety efforts. And the other important thing that Catherine started mentioning too is that these punitive, exclusionary, and compliance-oriented discipline, one of the limits is that they're linked to negative counterproductive effects on school climate and connectedness. And finally, that release assessment is the first step, and we really need to be looking at encouraging all schools to be beginning their efforts with assessing their school climate. So thank you very much. And I'd like now to introduce Eric Madfus from the University of Washington at Tacoma.